What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Juice Reacts video. In today's video, we're jumping into my universe. I know on this channel we cover a lot of Apex, we cover a lot of Warhammer 40k, and we're starting to cover SCP. Sorry about that. And now we're jumping into the universe I feel like I'm very knowledgeable in, and that is freaking DC comic books, specifically Batman, because IGN yesterday dropped Batman Year One, the rated R reboot that almost was featuring Frank Miller. Now, I haven't heard about this, and I've heard rumors and stuff about other kind of projects and stuff like this, but I've never seen anybody do a video on it, so we're going to check right now. We're going to react to this IGN video of talking about an R-rated Batman that never was or almost was. So let's check it out right now.
1997, director Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin was released to negative reviews.
Boy, was I shocked by the new Batman movie.
And I would give it 2 stars. How many would you give
That's exactly what I'm giving, Roger.
Okay, fine. It's like there's
2 stars.
a pinball
Damn.
machine with all 5 balls on the machine.
Look
at
at that
the same
TV.
time.
It was the campy, neon-tinged death knell for the cycle of Batman's big-screen adventures that had begun with Tim Burton's 1989 classic.
There was so many
It was
puns.
also the beginning of a fallow period for the Caped Crusader that would see him absent from movie theaters for 8 years.
Yep.
The honest answer is we saw that version had run its course and that we were going to have to embrace another course.
Hell yeah.
We're disappointed in the financial realities of what occurred with it, although we actually made a little bit of money.
Uma looks
it wasn't
really
like
hot
we were
in that
coming
movie,
from the
though,
point
not
of
gonna
view,
lie.
Oh my God, what a disaster. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, we lost all this money. It was more a recognition of creatively we had run out of room on that direction.
It's Batman. So many people have to approve anything to do with
Fucking
a,
Miller,
with a-
man.
with a trademark of that value.
Whew.
That the odds are that anything is going to be squashed.
We were a little ahead of the curve, I think, in the sense of like we were prepared to investigate a few different directions as opposed to one.
And one of the most intriguing of these would-be Batman movies was surely Darren
Year
Aronofsky and Frank Miller's Batman Year One.
Oh,
Conceived as a
Aronofsky was gonna
violent,
do it?
low-budget,
I
R-rated
heard
version
about
of the Dark
this.
Knight's legend that was more French Connection and Taxi Driver than superhero adventure.
The version he
Aronofsky
did,
is
and Frank,
such a great
is-
director.
very true and very interesting. It just happened to ultimately be far too dark.
No!
This is the story of
It
Year
can never
One,
be too...
Batman movie that
no, it can never
almost
be too
was.
dark.
Interior, Bruce Wayne's apartment, night. The TV news plays in the background as Bruce applies a fake scar onto his cheek. Bruce, VO.
They have
November 8th.
sketches?
Dear Father, the pimp knew my face. A distracting scar will hopefully mask my identity. Bruce puts on the overcoat and wide-brimmed concealing hat. Tonight I begin your revenge.
This is Year
I will
One.
rid this city of its cancer. I will draw the scum to me and make them pay. Bruce holds up his fist.
Oh, I don't know
and
about
on
that.
it,
I
his
don't like that
father's
ring.
signet ring. Father, tonight I am declaring war. Your loving son, Bruce. Before
Okay.
Batman and Robin was released, a 5th film in that series was under consideration. George Clooney was under contract to return to the Cape and Cowl, and a script was written featuring the Scarecrow and Harley Quinn, the daughter of the Joker in this incarnation.
Oh.
Variously referred to as Batman Unchained and or
What?
Batman Triumphant, Schumacher would have
That
returned
logo's
to direct,
awful.
but studio execs declined. And yet, the need to change up the Bat formula was obvious. Several new concepts were explored, including Batman Dark Knight.
Yeah.
That's just one word and 1K. And an adaptation of a popular futuristic
they?
animated take on the character Batman Beyond.
They still need
By the
that.
year 2000, a variety of high-profile Hollywood directors were reportedly pitching Batman stories. But it was the unique team of indie film darling Darren Aronofsky and comics
Yeah.
legend Miller who were ultimately hired to take the wheel of Batman Year One.
Aronofsky is
One
so
of the
great.
things we thought about was, okay, what do you what does that going back to Frank Miller look like? And Darren
Hi,
being such
that's a good
talented
movie. It's
young
trippy.
voice, it was a clear signal that we were willing to take a shift.
Aronofsky was the 31-year-old hotshot who had stunned audiences at Sundance with
31?
his feature film debut Pi 2 years earlier.
Damn.
The tale of a brilliant but troubled mathematician, the film was a gritty, black and
about-
white treatise on the very nature of the universe itself, but
I mean, you're
shot from
older
a
than him at that
ground-level
point.
Brooklyn perspective. Who better to steer the Dark Knight away from his recent unfortunate Technicolor fate? My pitch was Death Wish or The French Connection meets Batman, Aronofsky would later say.
Never seen any of
He wanted
those.
to, quote, bring an independent guerrilla flavor to Batman. Certainly, the original comic that the film would be based on was a more down-to-earth take on Batman, depicting, as its title suggests, the first year of young Bruce Wayne's ups and downs.
Good story
as a
if you
crime
guys
fighter.
haven't watched it.
The story also tracked
Read it.
Jim Gordon's struggles as an honest cop adrift within the corrupt ranks of the Gotham PD. The relationship between Batman and the future
Love
Commissioner
that photo.
Gordon would begin here, even as Miller told a more adult story that included themes like prostitution, brutality, and infidelity. Interior.
Miller loves
James Gordon's
prostitution.
apartment, bathroom.
Just saying.
Night.
It's in a lot of
Thunder
his
rolls in
books.
the night air.
A lot of
On the
them.
sweaty palm of James Gordon rest 6 bullets. Gordon sits in his boxers on the toilet. In his mouth, he holds his service revolver.
Honey, come to bed.
Gordon looks up at
And
the door. He
name
puts
should
the
have
gun
been Barbara.
with its wet barrel into a holster with a badge clipped to the side and leaves the bathroom.
Oh
I'll
wait.
say it at minimum at Warner Brothers, and perhaps, and if you look at it across our business, it might be one of the first times where, you know, somebody like Frank Miller is brought in specifically to get to the heritage of what this thing is. You know, DC
That would have been
worked
interesting.
with the creators of Batman and worked with but it was never treated the same way. It was definitely a different sense of importance.
In the book Tales from Development Hell, Aronofsky says, I told them I'd cast Clint Eastwood as the Dark Knight and shoot it in Tokyo, doubling for Gotham City. That got their attention, the filmmaker says, quote unquote, only half joking.
When you're alone at night, your rage takes over and you want a revenger. What face do you put with your enemy?
It seems the Eastwood concept never made it further than that, but it was enough to get Aronofsky and Warner synced up on year one.
No.
And Frank Miller, who had written the original graphic novel, as well as the groundbreaking The Dark Knight Returns, which in itself was a major influence on Tim Burton's Batman, was a natural fit to write the script, having also recently worked with Aronofsky on an unproduced script.
Whoa, wait. Dark Knight Returns was an influence on Tim Burton? No. Have I never put that? I mean, there's not that many similarities. There's no way. No, there's no way. It makes more sense for, like, I could see it with Zack Snyder's, but Tim Burton's? No. No. I don't know.
Screenplay
That's a
based
stretch.
on his graphic novel,
I don't know.
Ronin. Fans were generally excited by the notion of this dynamic duo.
But Clint Eastwood
rebooting
as Batman?
and Aronofsky made it
I don't know.
clear from the start that he was planning on reinventing the franchise. He told Empire, quote, Frank Miller is writing the screenplay with me, but it's going to be very different than anything in the book year one.
Oh, okay,
and
that makes
anything
sense.
you've seen. Toss out everything you can imagine about Batman. Everything. We're starting completely anew. And to Salon, he said, I think it's an amazing story that touches very deep in the American consciousness. There's something about vengeance and justice that are really deep issues for Americans.
Yeah,
and
sadly.
vigilantism. Once the pair got working on the script, Miller, whose depiction of Batman is known for its ruthlessness and violence, found himself in a unique position. It was the first time I worked on a Batman project with somebody whose vision of Batman was darker than mine. My Batman was too nice for him. We would argue about it, and I'd say Batman wouldn't do that. He wouldn't torture anybody, and so on. Enter the Batman. 2 options. Tonight you men can go to prison, or to the prison hospital. The choice is yours. The first goon to recover levels a shotgun. The Batman throws a vicious kick to the guy's crotch before he can fire. That's the one I hoped you'd pick. Batman
yeah.
leaps into the fray. Taloned claws sink into a man's shoulder. He screams as he's thrown through a window. Another thug swings a bat. The Batman kicks him in the chest, grabs his bat from midair, and flings it, crunch, into the face of another gunner across the room. A guy gets the drop on the Batman with a machine gun. The Batman, VO. There are 7 working defenses from this position. 3 of them disarm with minimal contact. 3 of them kill. The other just hurts. Crack. He throws the maiming sidekick into the guy's hip. Indeed, the Batman in the draft of the screenplay, which can be found
Interesting.
online these days, and
Okay.
which appears to be legit based on quotes and references from various personnel involved in the project, including Aronofsky and Miller, depicts a very different Bruce Wayne, and a story that fans will barely recognize from the original Year One comic. The goal was to avoid typical Hollywood trappings, to not shoot on sound stages, but instead in real American inner cities, and to
that
have
would've been cool.
quote-unquote real fights, exploring, according to Aronofsky, what happens when 2 men actually fight, which you just don't see. And yet, the goal was to also still, quote, ask that eternal question, what does it take for a real man to put on tights and fight crime? There, Bruce Wayne is a withdrawn loner working in the auto shop of Little Al, an African-American working-class version of Alfred. Bruce is tormented by nightmares and writes letters to his dead father, which we hear as VO, asking for guidance while fighting the urge to right the wrongs he sees on the streets of Gotham. One early target of his is a pimp called Chi-Chi, who has a prostitute working for him named Selena. When he finally does embark on his vigilante ways, Bruce wears a signet ring with his father's initials, TW, which, predicting the branding element that would appear 16 years later in Batman v Superman, leaves a bat-shaped scar on his victims. As his crusade against crime continues, he loses all his front teeth, so yeah, picture that Batman, and evolves his approach, developing a homemade batsuit that includes a painted, cut-in-half hockey mask, and hurts a lot of gangsters and thugs. Badly. Eventually, he works his way up the criminal food chain and forms an uneasy alliance with Lieutenant Gordon, one of the only honest cops in the city, to take on the corrupt police commissioner. Familiar faces show up or are hinted at, including Harvey Dent, who's still Gotham's DA at this point, and briefly a certain green-haired patient in Arkham Asylum. By the end, Bruce has reclaimed his rightful inheritance to the Wayne fortune, has set up a makeshift Batcave in a subway tunnel, and has found his true calling as the Batman. Oh, and he gets himself dentures too. So, problem solved there. Exterior. Dark streets, night. A black Lincoln Continental drives through the bleak, barren streets of Gotham at breakneck speed. It is no ordinary Lincoln Continental. It's the Batmobile. Its windows are tinted opaque. Heavy steel bumper modifications have been welded to the chassis. The hood has been chopped back to make room for the supercharged school bus engine that powers it.
A school bus engine?
Without headlights, like a car possessed, reckless, and demonic. What Aronofsky and Miller had conceived was a Batman like no other. A hardcore, bloody tale featuring a truly damaged anti-hero and realistic violence. The studio unsurprisingly balked at the script. I think I heard a shriek of horror at first, Miller recalled of the studio's reaction. They were shocked at how bold it was and wanted to be softened as much as it could be, and then we wanted it to be as hard as it could be. Eric Watson, who produced Aronofsky's first 3 features, told the LA Times in 2005 that Warner execs should have known what to expect, saying, quote, "This was the way we pitched it, and that was the script we delivered. They knew what was coming, so their response was definitely confusing."
Darren wrote one version and I wrote one version. Neither got produced. It has to be agreed upon by the entire United States Congress before it proceeds.
Of course, a Batman movie has to serve many masters.
I bet that's what it feels
film
like.
That reads more like Death Wish with a cape than any kind of superhero story was destined to never get made, especially in the early 2000s. Indeed, one of the corporate needs from a movie like this, especially back then, was toys.
Yep. Toys fucked up everything.
But heat scan Batman's thermal sensors make freeze sweat, and now the blazing bat hammer lights up the night.
And can't you just picture a collectible Thomas Wayne signet ring, complete with gangster flesh stuck in its grooves? Because, yeah, that's in the script too.
That'd be awesome.
Ironically, the very thing that in part led to Batman and Robin's disastrous fate, the merchandising of the property, also meant Aronofsky and Miller's Year One would never get made. Reports would follow that high-profile players like Joss Whedon and the Wachowskis pitched their own versions of the Batman origin story, but nothing ever came of it. By 2002, Aronofsky and Miller had moved on as well, as a proposed Batman vs. Superman from director Wolfgang Peterson became the hot new DC property at the studio. Eventually, that project fell apart too. Fans finally did get their Batman origin movie in 2005 when Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins was released. The film found a way to balance a more realistic Dark Knight without taking things too far out of the PG-13 realm.
Nice.
But that doesn't mean the shades of Aronofsky and Miller's Year One script didn't find their way into Nolan's trilogy.
I don't remember what Chris did or didn't read as he jumped in, but anytime you do a draft like that, everybody reads that draft who comes aboard, right? So those ideas can filter in. You know, Anne Hathaway, Catwoman, was it affected by the Aronofsky draft? I have no idea. I find that in the process of developing any big franchise, little ideas somehow find a way, when they're good, of never dying, no matter how many drafts, no matter how many filmmakers, somehow they keep coming back in, you know? And I have no doubt that the exploration of Darren's version impacted everything following it to some degree. Now you tell me how much. That's a hard one.
Exterior, overgrown garden,
it's possible.
dusk.
Good ideas are
Bruce
good
Wayne
ideas. They
stands
should be
in a
made.
vast classical garden amid weeds and tall grass. Flickering firelight illuminates his face in the gathering gloom of night. Bruce, VO, December 18. Dear Father, you have taught me well, showed me who I am and what it takes to be a man in this world. For that, I am grateful. Bruce looks down at his cardboard shipping box full of letters burning
up,
in a
phone.
brick fire pit. But I am ready to find
Clay,
my
of
own way
course,
now.
posting stuff.
I will make the most of my inheritance, and I will always honor your memory. Bruce holds a final letter in his hands. He looks at it for one more moment, then lets it slip into the flames. Night is falling.
I like that they
I've got work to
provided
do.
sketch art.
Your loving son, Batman.
Interesting. Interesting.
It's Batman.
It's Batman, bitch. Okay. Alright, so perspectives on it. I think, I don't know. Look, I'm a big Batman purist at times. I can understand Elseworld stories and stuff like that, but I don't know, when people start like working at an auto shop with a guy named Alfred, I don't know about that kind of stuff. I don't mind the violence and brutal stuff. It does seem, I will say this, and some Zack Snyder fans might be like, oh no, Zack Snyder took a lot of influence from Frank Miller. That is 100% obvious. But the brutalness of this movie seems like Zack Snyder read this script and was like, I'm going to put that in my movie. And he did that because in Batman v Superman, that warehouse scene is like the one thing that is talked about the most out of that movie. Everybody's like, the warehouse scene, the warehouse scene, the warehouse scene, which it's an amazing scene. And I even said this a million times. That is the Batman I've always wanted to see on screen. A Batman that could take on like 10 people at once, opposed to the fighting that was in the Nolan movies. As good as the Nolan movies were, I always make fun of the fighting because it was all stiff and boring and shit. Freaking Zack Snyder gave me a badass looking Batman. And it seems like Aronofsky wanted to give us that way before Zack Snyder even got his hands on superheroes. So, yeah, I don't know. This would have been a very interesting thing. I'm not a big Frank Miller fan anymore, but it's funny, we just talked about this on my Batman News Weekly podcast, that Frank Miller he'll always be an icon. And I feel like every writer wants to be Frank Miller because everybody till the end of time will reference Batman Year One as one of the best Batman books. And it is a solid book and a perfect telling of just like how Batman would start almost. And I think a lot of people want to recreate that. Other people have tried to do it with other superheroes. It just doesn't work because Batman, like Frank Miller just wrote, I wouldn't call it a perfect story, but damn near perfect story for that character. And yeah, Aronofsky, I think, is an amazing director. You know what you're going to get with Aronofsky. He is kind of out there and crazy. As a Batman purist, I probably wouldn't have liked a lot of his choices, but as a filmmaker and somebody who just enjoys films, I probably would have loved this rendition of it. Like, just his take. I would have been like, okay, that's not so much Batman, but I like the artistic idea behind it. And I love Aronofsky films. I always have. So, yeah, in this new world of HBO Max having their hands on everything and like basically killing the DC Universe app, and they're taking all their shows, and now we're gonna get crossovers between Matt Reeves' Batman and a Gotham City Police Department show on HBO Max. There's freaking the Snyder Cut being made. This could happen. Like if HBO really, if this got a lot of freaking praise and a lot of love, they could be like, yo, Darren Aronofsky, I know you wanted to make some brutal ass Batman. Why not make it into a show? Why not make it into a movie on HBO Max? That would be something that would be really interesting, and I'd totally watch it. I already got HBO Max, but I would totally watch something like that. But anyways, I thought this was awesome. I love watching anything that has to do with Batman. I feel like, we got a good kind of rotation of things that we're reacting to on this channel now. A lot of good insights to a lot of cool fandoms. And I feel like I'm just a nerd at heart, and I just love learning about other fandoms and stuff. So I feel like Thursday is the day we'll just try different videos because, it is what it is. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. Of course, if you haven't come over and followed the Twitch stream, you should definitely come do that because we're always playing some cool games. Fall Guys is the new game right now. Go hit that follow button, turn on notifications. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos we upload Monday through Friday. And of course, if you guys want some more stupid content, go check out my freaking TikTok. I'm always posting stuff there. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, JUICEBOX. Remember to wake up in the morning and ask yourself something about my daily dose of juice. See you guys next time.